Okay, and here we are live back once again for the Renegade Master. So we start here on the cross of the four ways, the writing across of the four ways, the 1-3. So when you're looking at the 1-3, we're beginning a process of reflection, and nothing is better than being a one on a reflected cross. How nice. You can study and study and study, and you can be in a perfect retreat. That is wonderful, except remembering that at some point you've got to deliver. It's one of the difficult things about having activations, either in the alpha or the core, because they're expressions of processes. It's demanded that you get it out. The rest of the collective demands it. They're expecting you to deliver. The 1-3 obviously is going to have its mistakes. And remember, something about the cross of the four ways is bringing you to a point of transition. These are bridging gates. You're going to see that because when you get into the left angle, you really see that the bridge is a bridging process. It isn't so much about a way at all. When you see it in somebody as an individual through the activation of the sun, that personality takes on its own quality. So if we've gone through and we've seen from October until now how different the right angle crosses can be according to quarter, here you have a very, very, very powerful distinction. These are very much retreat beings, which means that the right angle is deeply, deeply absorbed, and that the tools in this right angle are mostly hidden. They're really deep in retreat. It's very hard to get access to them. And yet, at the same time, what you're dealing with is a font of the 33rd gate goes on a journey and it takes photographs. And it takes photographs in order to be able to reflect on the journey later. You could call that history. You could call that sentimentality. You could call it all kinds of things. In our day and age, it's an enormous potential that's open to these people. In other words, in retreat and in isolation, they have access to the font of human stuff, all of the things that are going on out there. And they're able to reflect, not simply on their own experience, but the multitude of experience that they can see. 1-3s have to be nurtured towards discovering differences in memory, and this is what they're here to show us. If we are diverse and we are unique and we are differentiating, then there is no single history. It doesn't exist. It's why collecting the collective history is essential, and that the more contributions we to history, for example, the 20th century, is better understood than any other century in history. We have not simply artifacts, we have captured on devices the actual life itself. We have a tremendous capacity to take an overview of society, of civilization and culture, to be able to see all of them in its strengths and to reflect on larger movement. It's like our ability with satellite now to see weather 4 or 5 days away. We have the ability now with the density of our historical material to begin to get much broader overviews of the way in which the movement works in a planetary way, in a global way. This is what the 1-3 on this cross discovers. The very first thing it discovers is when you have about 5 or 6 years old, that it's really had those cognitive skills, that it comes back from the park with its mother and it's somewhere at the house and the mother's telling you about something about what happened in the park. And the child realizes that the mother's not telling what he remembers. And not because the mother's lying, it's that there's things that the mother didn't see. It's things that she didn't mention. And the 1-3 child goes, she's lying? Why didn't you mention that you fell down? It's like, why did you leave that out? And of course, what happens to these children that they never trust other people's memories. You meet a son in the 33 and you tell them something that happened to you. It's like, okay, sure, right, let's move on now. They learn so quickly that you can't trust what anybody tells you. And out of that, if they study, if they get into it, they begin to see that if you need to have many different perspectives, now in the sense of mathematics, because we have a science and discovery with the third lines, you begin to see that in order to be able to measure an object at a great distance, you need to triangulate. You need to have different perspectives. And then by having different perspectives, you can finally get a measurement. It's very important to the way in which our consciousness is developed. Then we go to the 1-4, and the 1-4 here is very stuck. We know that there's always a resistance in the 4, this fixedness that is inherent in their nature. The difficulty is that they do not see that other memories are valid. It's like the 1-3 child when the mother remembers something that the child remembers differently. It assumes that either the mother's wrong or the mother's lying. But when the mother remembers something, the 1-4 will actually give up its version and go with the main version. Oh no, dear, you didn't remember that correctly. The number was 99.99.6, not 7, even if it's wrong. I see a 1-4 as being a very, very difficult childhood because you're so dependent on what your parents are like. You're not like a 3. I never worry about the 3 with their parents because they know their parents are idiots right from the beginning. They figure out right away. But the 4s never figured out until much later in life that their parents were idiots. It takes them a long time, and it's crushing when they find out, because that's not what they figured. They were going along with the platform. They were going along with, okay, this is all right. And suddenly they discover, oh my God, you were such an idiot. The 33rd gate is one of the most important of all our memory gates. It's the culmination of our memory process. You have memory running from the 54 through the 32 to the 44 up to the 26. It's a very important memory circuit. You have memory in the 1156, but the memory that's there in the 3313, this is the essential memory. So we are memory keepers here, no? And we're here to keep the memory from everything.